Daf Yomi tractate Shevuos, page 11b, top of the page. It was in the middle of a question that Rabbi asked to Rabba's suggestion that from that which is taught in Brisa with regard to the bull and the goat of Yom Kippur that were lost, and one separated and sacrificed others in their stead. And now we're on top of Yud Aleph, Beis 11b. V'chi seirei avodah zareh she'avdu v'hifrish acher m'tachtein kulan yamusu. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Omrim, Yeru ad sheyista'evu v'yimachru v'yiplu d'mehen l'nedava she'ein chatas tzibur meso. And likewise goats that were designated to atone for an act of unwitting public idol worship that were lost, and one separated and sacrificed others in their stead. In such cases, all of the lost animals, should they subsequently be found, shall be left to die. This is in accordance with the halacha that a sin offering whose owner has already achieved atonement is left to die. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon say they should graze until they become unfit by developing a blemish, and then they are sold and their proceeds are allocated for communal gift offerings. They are not left to die because the halacha is that a communal sin offering is not left to die. Abai explains his challenge, but why should it even be necessary to wait until the offerings develop a blemish? Let us say here also that the court tacitly stipulates concerning them, so that if it ultimately emerges that they were not needed, then they should have only sanctity that adheres in their value, and therefore it should be possible to redeem them even if they do not develop a blemish. Avudin kamet shad yavudin lo shchichi. Rabbi deflects the challenge. Did you say that there is a proof from the case of lost animals? Cases of lost animals are different because they are not common. Therefore, the court does not stipulate concerning such an eventuality. Hare para de lo shchicha betanya. Para nivdes al kol psul sheba. Meso tipode. Nishchata tipode motza acheres. No ehemona tipode. Shechata al gabe ma'arachtaham. En la pedia olamit. Shani paradi kada shebedek abayisi. Abai persists, consider the case of a red heifer, which is not common, and yet it is taught in a bright time. A red heifer may be redeemed for any disqualification that occurs to it. If it died, it shall be redeemed. If it was slaughtered in an improper place, it shall be redeemed. If another was found that is choicer than it, it shall be redeemed. But once the priest has slaughtered it properly on its arrangement of wood on the Mount of Olives, it can no longer be redeemed. Presumably the reason it may be redeemed if choicer one is found is that the court tacitly stipulates that in such a case it should be consecrated with sanctity that adheres in its value. It is apparent that even in uncommon cases the court makes such stipulations. Rabbah rejects the proof. The red heifer is different, as in all cases it has only the sanctity of items consecrated for temple maintenance, which adheres only in the item's value, so it can always be redeemed even if it is still unblemished. Ihachi meso nishchata tipode habeinan hamada varacha hamani Reb Shimoni damar kache mizbeach hayu bichlal hamada varacha kache bedek habayis lo hayu bichlal hamada varacha. Abai asks, if so, if it died or was slaughtered, how can it be redeemed? In order for an item to be redeemed, don't we require that it first undergo the process of standing and valuation? The animal must be stood before a priest, who then evaluates how much it should be redeemed for. See Leviticus 27, 11 and 12. And a dead animal cannot stand. Rabbi answers, in accordance with whose opinion is this? It is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, who says, items consecrated to be offered on the altar were included in the requirement of standing and appraising. But items with the sanctity of items consecrated for temple maintenance, such as red heifer, were not included in the requirement of standing and appraising. Rabbi Shimon, By asked if, as you claim, the bride is according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, then say and try to justify the latter clause, which states once the priest has slaughtered it properly on its arrangement of wood on the Mount of Olives, it can no longer be redeemed. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Paramitama'a, Tumas Oichlin, Hoyel Hoysala Shar HaKoisher of Amar Reish Lakish, Amar Omer Haya Rabbi Shimon, Para Nivdes Al Gav Marakta. And this statement is not consistent with Rabbi Shimon's opinion, as isn't it taught in a Braita? Rabbi Shimon says that the meat of a red heifer that was slaughtered properly is susceptible to becoming ritually impure with the ritual impurity of food, even though it is prohibited to partake of it in its current state, since it had a time when it was fit to be eaten. And in explanation of when it was fit to be eaten, Reish Lakish says, Rabbi Shimon would say that a red heifer may be redeemed even while it is upon its arrangement of wood. It is considered to be fit to be eaten due to the potential to redeem it, which would allow one to then partake of it. It is apparent from Reish Lakish's comment that the latter clause, and by logical extension, the rest of the Braita, is not in accordance with Rabbi Shimon's opinion. Ela shani para hoyel v'dama yikarin, demea yikarin. Rabbah concludes, therefore, that the red heifer cannot be redeemed due to the fact that the court makes a stipulation with regard to it, but nevertheless he defends his opinion that they do not normally make a stipulation for uncommon cases. Rather, the cases of the red heifer is different since it is of great monetary value. Therefore, to avoid a great loss, the court makes a stipulation despite its being an uncommon case. Amar Mar Mesa Tifte Poitin Chadash Machim Amar Sharshia Mishumora. The kind of Beis Din Masnu Adayte Doira Amar Rav Kahana Amri Inashi Migamla Una. The Gemara interjects with a question concerning the Braita. The master said in the Braita, if a red heifer died, it shall be redeemed. The Gemara asked, but may one redeem consecrated items in order to feed the meat from them to dogs? Certainly one may not. Nevertheless, the meat of a red heifer that died without being slaughtered is not susceptible for any other purpose. Rabbi Sharshia said it is redeemed for the sake of its hide. The Gemara asks, but does the court stand and stipulate with its mind on the hide of the heifer, which is presumably of little value? Rav Kahana said, as people say in the popular adage, from a camel, even just its ear. Since a camel is so valuable, even the flesh of its ear is valuable and should be saved if possible. Similarly, for the hide of a red heifer will also be valuable. Eisvei Amarullah Rabbi Shimon Ma Shikrevu Zemazeh Amarullahu Yikrevu Amarullah Hoil Ve'en Kaparasun Shavet Hayach Kriven Amalahen Kulam Ba'in Lechaper Al Tumas Mikdash. Abai raised objection to Rabbah's claim that the court tacitly stipulates concerning items consecrated for public offerings from the Mishnah 2b. The rabbis said to Rabbi Shimon, what is the halacha with regard to whether goats consecrated for different days may be sacrificed? This one in place of that one. For example, if a goat was initially consecrated to be sacrificed as part of the Yom Kippur, additional offerings may be sacrificed instead as a part of the festival additional offerings. Rabbi Shimon said to them, such a goat may be sacrificed. They say to Rabbi Shimon, since according to you, their atonement is not the same, how could they possibly be sacrifice. Rabbi Shimon said to them, they can be interchanged since ultimately all of them come to atone for the defiling of the temple or its sacrificial foods. Ve'amai lema les bezdin masna lehen. Rabbi Shimon kamen. Rabbi Shimon les bezdin masna lehen. Damar Rabbi Dibaravin. Amar Rav Amram. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Timidin. Shelo hutzrechu ledibur. L'divrei Rabbi Shimon ein livdin timimim. L'divrei chachamim livdin timimim. Abaye explains the objection brought from the Mishnah, but according to Rabbah, why did Rabbi Shimon give the reason he gave? Let Rabbi Shimon say instead that the court tacitly stipulates concerning them that they should be consecrated for the day on which they are ultimately brought. Rabbah answers, did you say a proof from the statement of Rabbi Shimon? Rabbi Shimon does not accept the principle that the court tacitly stipulates concerning them, as it is apparent from that which Rav Idi Bar Avin says, that Rav Amram says, that Rav Yochanan says concerning lambs consecrated for the daily offerings that were not needed by the public. According to the statement of Rabbi Shimon, they are not redeemed if they are unblemished. According to the statement of the rabbis, they are redeemed even if they are unblemished. The Rabbi the pligi ale the Rabbi Shimon ma'ininu inami the Rabbanan Aktoides. The Gemara asks, and the rabbis who disagree with Rabbi Shimon and hold that the court does make such stipulations, who are they? Where is their opinion recorded? If we say that they are the sages who ruled in the Mishnah cited above, Shkalim 4-5, with regard to surplus incense, that it may be redeemed, to be continued,